Hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we are working on a little snack mix. Now if I go to the grocery store and I buy like a small bag of Chex Mix, it's roughly $4. My kids can have that divided amongst the 5 of them and gone within 5 to 10 minutes. Recently I bought them some bags of potato chips. They were 3 for $6. I went out to the barn, I milked the cow, I came back, there were no chips left. Of course, I didn't expect any, but it's nice to be able to have a little treat every now and then without running to the store. So I'm going to show you my version of homemade Chex Mix. This only takes a couple of minutes to make. It's only a few dollars, and this will last our family for a couple of days. So you can do this with any brand of products. I am not fussy about things like this because once it's flavored and mixed up, you don't know the difference between Cheerios or Scooters. And I can tell you, this stuff is $1 a box at the dollar store. A lot of times discounted at other stores. And as you can see, you can get the stuff in bags that are much larger. So you can save a lot of money. Same thing with the Chex. I have got my 2 types of cereal that we like to mix in. So Cheerios or oats and any kind of flavor of Chex. It doesn't matter if it's rice or wheat Chex. I've got pretzels. Straight pretzels work really good. I just happened to be in the dollar store and saw this bag of pretzels. I am going to crush those up so it doesn't matter if they are looped or tied pretzels or not. And peanuts. I do the lightly salted peanuts because you don't want to start adding so much sodium to your diet. You can use unsalted, you can use cashews, walnuts, anything that you like. Sunflower seeds are really nice in this, but they do tend to fall to the bottom, so keep that in mind. I have got salt, onion powder, garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce, and a stick of butter. Now, a lot of times you see these recipes, the volume or ingredient amounts can change based on the size of the crock pot, so keep that in mind. I have the largest crock pot you can get, and it holds quite a bit more than most. So my recipe basically is doubled off of what original recipes are with my own little tweaks. So go ahead and follow along so you can see how we're going to do this. So I've transferred some of my pretzels to a plastic bag, and I have a rolling pin. I'm just going to bust those up a little bit. It's just easier for me than to squeeze them with my bare hands. Make them as big or as small as you like. You could run these through a food processor. I don't need it done that fast, and I don't need more dishes to wash. Okay, so now I've got a nice batch. So I've put in my crock pot about a half a box of the Scooters. And this is a half of a 10-ounce bag of the pretzels. And we're going to put in some peanuts, not too many. The idea is to keep the cost down. And I just want to fill this up. Now, some people like to do a couple different kinds of the Chex cereals. Add some interesting dimension, you know, to the whole thing. So that's a whole box, and this is a 12.5-ounce box of cereal. Just layering things in. Okay, now for me, my secret ingredient is chili powder and au jus gravy mix. I'm just going to add in a teaspoon of each into my mix. And we've gone ahead and melted in our butter. This is 1 stick of butter. There's a teaspoon of the gravy mix. And I've got 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. We're doing 1 teaspoon of the onion powder. And of course, you can always change this to your own likings. I am using a coarse table salt. You can use whatever kind of salt you prefer. The last time I made it, I believe I even forgot to add the salt because I was busy doing other things, and it can happen. My kids ask me sometimes, why do things turn out differently than they did another time? And it's just simply from not exact measurements or not an exact recipe. It just works that way. So now we're going to go ahead and add our Worcestershire sauce. 2 tablespoons of the Worcestershire sauce. So if you had the smaller crock pot, you would cut it in half. And now we're just going to mix this all together. Some people like to put the dry ingredients on top. I just like to blend it all into the butter because then you get a nice slurry of everything. It dissolves, it blends, it just marries all those flavors. And I'll tell you, if you like a little bit more kick than the chili powder, add a little bit of red pepper to it, cayenne pepper. Different tastes for everybody. And I know some people even like to add a little bit of brown sugar or maple syrup to the butter. So you can see I've still got a good amount of room in my crock pot, and you do want to have some room for stirring, so keep that in mind. I decided to go ahead and add the rest of the pretzels because no one's going to eat them in this house. Otherwise, I have one guy that likes them. Okay, now for our mix. This is so simple. Now, if you want to do this nice and evenly, you can always put your liquid into one of these squirting ketchup bottles. I keep my oil handy like that for oiling my pans when I'm cooking. And you may or may not want to grease your pan of your crock pot also. These particular crock pots, this is a newer one that I've had for about a year, run a lot hotter than an old version. So keep that in mind in your cooking time. Now, my warm is more like low, and my low is more like high, medium, high. I have come home to a roast on low after 6 hours and had it overcooked. So your cooking time may vary depending on your age of your crock pot or version. So we're just mixing this in, pouring it on, and mixing it in. So just a quick note about sugar. You have the option of adding sugar to this also, like I was just mentioning about adding brown sugar or maple syrup. The beginner recipe for this calls for 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. That's not very much. And if you're using, like right now I have the honey nut Chex, they're sweet enough. You don't need to add extra sugar. And you can really bake this very fast by adding like an onion soup mix and just pulverizing the heck out of it. And adding that to your butter and Worcestershire sauce if you don't have the other ingredients. So there's always substitutions that can be made. So now we're just giving this a good stir in the crock pot, and I've got it on low. So what I was talking about is the heat temperatures and the settings on your crock pot. When I first found this recipe, I was told 2.5 hours. I lost half of my mix because it burnt. It stuck to the pan crock so bad. So after that, I started oiling or just spraying it with some Pam spray because it really helps with cleanup a lot. I'm not a big fan of the cooking bags, so this is just the way I prefer to do it. We're gonna come back every 20 to 30 minutes and give it a little stir. That is just going to help marry the ingredients all together and crisp up or brown up the cereals with the butters and all the other mixes that you put in there. Give that a little stir, come back 20 or 30 minutes later. I would say in this crock pot, it's about an hour and 40 minutes to 2 hours. 2.5 was always too long. A lot of times also after an hour, hour and a half, I will turn it down to the warm setting to help prevent that from sticking and burning so badly. So let's come back here in 20 minutes and give it a stir and see how it's doing. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. We're giving it a stir. You can feel the heat off of it. You can smell the wonderful smells. This is the time for smell-o-vision. Great things coming our way today. Make sure that you stir that on the sides and bottoms so that you don't get that sticking and burning, and you'll be all set. Now we'll just put this lid on and continue it for another 20 to 30 minutes and give it a stir again. So that was an additional 25 minutes, and you can see there, that is your doneness. It was starting to get darker at the edges and the bottom. There was a couple other pieces that were a little dark. So I'm going ahead and I'm turning this down to warm, and I'm going to set it for probably another 15 to 20 minutes because we are at roughly an hour at this point. We want it to continue, but I don't want it to burn. So another 25 minutes has gone by, and I've given it a stir, and as you can see, there's our indicator. I'm going to turn this off now and get it off the heat, because if this continues, you're going to end up with lots of this. And if you're gift giving any of this or using it for something like a buffet potluck sort of meal, you're not going to want to take a bunch of burnt food. So I can see that it's done. My Chex Mix has a little toast to it. Turn it off, and if you have a family around, such as I do, it always helps to unplug it so that they know, oh, it didn't accidentally get turned off, or that you left it on and unplugged it, because that happens with having multiple appliances. As you can see, this is my pull it out of the cabinet and use it place. But definitely time to pull that out, even with that lower setting. So total, we've got about an hour and a half into this. Now we'll just let it cool so that we can enjoy it. It seems like a really simple thing. Kids can learn how to cook in lots of different ways, whether it's Chex Mix, scrambled eggs, you know, just helping themselves to a bowl of cereal. But this is one of those things that I had a working mom. She never made this kind of stuff. The only thing she ever made in her crock pot was a stew or a roast, and it was on to her next jobs, sewing, working away from the home, and she had 4 kids to take care of. So if there was snacks to be gotten, it was usually with my own babysitting money down at the local party store or grocery store. So pass this information on, help your kids to learn how to cook, feed your family, save a lot of money on the grocery store. It really helps save the family budget, and then you are in control of how much sodium and sugar that you're putting into it. As I had mentioned in the putting together of the ingredients, it really can help your benefit your health in the long run. So if this helped you, remember to give a thumbs up for a like, subscribe, and you can always see what's going on next on the channel, because it runs the gamut from sewing to farm work. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.